Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Themis and Thoth. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking. Go and get that. Um, so, first of all, congrats to everyone who entered the scholarship competition. We have our winners. I'll be reaching out tomorrow morning in particular to I'm going to reach out tomorrow morning in particular to get the information of the winner. There is also a separate part of this where I want to talk to some of the writers of some of the other essays. I think that it would be useful to have a discussion. Um, I am very interested in one essay in particular that did not win, but obviously I didn't fully control how all of the voting and anything goes. But I would want to talk to the author of a particular essay, and maybe we can have a panel of people who engaged in the essay writing process, and that would be nice too for you all to come up and for us to sort of talk if you want to. So I will email you all tomorrow to set up a time for live streaming and all of that. So that out of the way, I just wanted to say thank you all for coming. Thank you all for writing and for the people who voted. There's a lot less people who voted than I anticipated. Maybe that had to do with the time that I set up for voting, but I do appreciate you all so much. And there'll be a lot of notice in the future. That out of the way, before we get to this video and what we're doing here today, I I was struggling a little bit. I am a lot better now, but I was struggling a little bit with self-perception in some ways. That sounds weird, but I I was looking for all this feedback, and I craved a bunch of feedback because I wanted to be in community with people, and I wanted to care for people, and I wanted to show up for people, I think, in ways that were maybe not as appropriate as I thought. And so I had a conversation. I've been talking to my mom, and I had a conversation. You all don't care about this, but I think it's important. I have to. We're talking about Black men's mental health, so, so I have to. And I was telling my mom that something doesn't fit. Something doesn't fit in certain kinds of communities that I create. I'm like, I don't think I fit in this way. I think that if I do this, people might perceive it wrong, all of that. Anyway, ultimately, I learned something like very, very fundamental. And I don't, I think to you all, it's going to sound very obvious, but to me, it wasn't as obvious. And the, because I was actually talking to her about the sort of like, I've always been in community with Black women, but it's always a very specific kind of Black women who are motivated and like at the top of their careers. Like, I've never really thought about the spectrum of like friendships and all of that. I just lived in a bubble. And my mom, after like letting me go on and on and on about, I don't know how to fully engage with my community. And she reminded me something, and she said that you can facilitate community, but you don't have to be a part of and participate in certain things. So you are and can be a facilitator without being a participant. You don't actually have to fully put yourself in uncomfortable situation. You don't have to be spoken to this or that kind of way. You don't actually have to do any of that. You once you care and you show up for people, you can facilitate community without actually having to share your story and wanting to be understood and wanting to be heard. It's not your place. Like, you don't have to be heard in that way. If you want to facilitate community and you want people to love and care for each other, sometimes that means you take yourself out of it and you show up when you're needed and you let people be when you're not needed. You don't have to actually engage. And I don't know why that was so freeing, but it was so freeing. I no longer have this like mental space of struggle where I'm like, how do I do this right? How do I be better? How do I want to still be better. Obviously, you want to be a better person, but you don't actually have to participate in that which you facilitate. As like, oh, that's a word. That's a word. So thank you, mother. And so I know how to step back now, and live sort of my life and show up the best way I know how to show up, and step back when I'm not needed, and I'm not needed for every conversation. I don't have to be online doing this or that. I don't have to. I don't have. There's a lot of things I don't have to do. And that's good. So I really appreciated that. Anywho, I just wanted to like let you all know, for anyone struggling and feeling like a misfit and trying to like develop community somewhere, do this or do that. Sometimes it's okay to just step back and let it grow and show up. Um, so yeah, arrest themis, period. I do think so. I do think so. All right. So now that that's out of the way, the groundwork is set. I will grow hopefully at my own pace, and I will just sort of detach. There's going to be a lot of sort of detachment emotionally going on generally. Yeah. And I'm very excited for that. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to let you all know that, and let's get into this video. Let's get it. All right. So there is a man online called Professor Trademark. That's funny. Um, you guys are asking me a question. I'll explain this. It's not like important. It was just about personal growth and just kind of wanting to be in a community in a very specific way. You don't have to. Anywho, so Professor Odie, is it OB or Odie? I think it's Odie with a D. I am not super familiar with his content, but I do know that he is not manosphere. I don't think he is. I know that he speaks to and about men generally, and he expresses the need for men to have emotional health and well being and all of that. And so I've never had any sort of major disagreements with him. I saw a part of this clip uh, in the Discord, and I disagreed with this clip. But I doubt, for people who think I'm here to drag or anything like that, please know, I don't think I am. I'll just say where I disagree and explain why, if I disagree. That's the first thing. The second thing is, prior to starting, I saw a lot of people saying the thumbnail was, how do you say, shady. I don't I was not trying to be shady. I promise I went on his Instagram to look at pictures, and the first picture I saw, I put it there. It wasn't meant to be shady. And I know that FD, whenever I'm talking about a friend, he shows up. So I'm like, you are also welcome. So there's no shade in nothing. I was not attempting to be shady at all. All right. So let's get started. I searched high and low for this clip. It was on the full video, they claim, was on TikTok, and they went to TikTok, and then it sent me to a website, and then the website linked back to YouTube. And so we are now back at YouTube, and the channel's name is Affirmations for Black Men. So Affirmations for Black Men is the title of the channel that we're going to watch the full so-called clip from. All right. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? Is that no, that's not FD. That is Odie, Professor Odie.
Welcome to the Black Man Spotlight. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. First and foremost, please hit that subscribe button for me because that is how I'm going to grow. It's how I'm going to be able to keep doing this with my team, and it's how I'm going to monetize. So if you care about me, you will subscribe right now. So let's get into this episode because it had me like cringing almost. I felt so much anxiety as a Black woman being approached by a Black man who is in school for therapy and life coaching. So he has the language to talk to me so eloquently and communicate why he thinks that Black women lack accountability. So I don't know why I did this or why I thought I was the one to.
I kind of wish I had seen this because I didn't realize the conversation was about how Black women lack accountability. If I knew the entirety of the conversation was structured around the idea that Black women lack accountability, maybe I would have been more shady. Maybe I would have been more, because y'all think I'm shady. I wasn't shady in the thumbnail. I don't know why you would accept that premise. Like, the question can be, do Black women lack accountability? And then you guys can have a conversation on that. The question of why do Black women lack accountability presupposes way too much. There's already a concession that Black women lack accountability, and this is from a Black woman who is hosting it. Oh God. Oh God.
Speak on this, but I got in the hot seat and he asked me a lot of incredible questions. I asked him a lot of incredible questions, and there were a lot of uncomfortable truths said throughout this conversation. And he armed me with the way Black men feel about Black women and why Black women are having a hard time connecting to Black men. And I don't know, I just felt like I had to journal afterwards, and I had a lot to think about because it just opened my eyes to my own lack of accountability and understanding. And so I hope that this episode helps whoever is watching understand themselves and understand the people around them. And if you are ready, welcome to the Black Man Spotlight. I'm going to call this episode Accountability.
Ooh.
I'm going to have to call it accountability because as a Black woman and as a Black man, I'm sure we both have lived in Black families. We both grew up in Black families. We have Black mothers, Black fathers, cousins, aunties, nephews, all of the things. And I will say one of the hardest things that I have ever accomplished or ever tried to do was to take accountability for how I made someone else feel, for how I showed up in someone else's life. And I know I'm not the only one. And I can sit here and say that there have been relationships where it is more comfortable for me to not take accountability, to blame, to play psychological.
For anyone who has watched this, they are going to define accountability, right? I don't like the word being used without being defined and defined in the context of its usage, because I don't think the way that I see accountability and the way they see accountability are the same, because I don't fully understand what you mean when you say you didn't take accountability for how you show up in people's lives. I don't know what that means. Like, what did you do, and like, how did you show up that you need to take accountability? Like, I need clarification, because if responsibility is, all right, let's continue. I just hope they define accountability, because I do think it needs to be defined. It's not as obvious as we might think. I don't think.
Games and to make someone else feel bad for how they showed up in my life because I didn't want to be accountable. And so I'm sitting here with Professor Odie. He is a licensed trauma therapist.
Not licensed yet.
Not licensed yet?
We're working on.
Wait. How is he not licensed yet? I'm not gonna look it up. I thought he had like a calendar where you can pay for one-on-one. Maybe it's not therapy that he's doing. Maybe it's like life coaching. Because it is illegal. Never mind. Scratch that. Scratch everything I just said. I don't know what he's doing. He probably just one-on-one to like talk. It probably isn't therapy. He's not offering therapy without being licensed. I don't think he would do something like that. Don't know what's happening. Ignore everything I just said.
We're going to get there. A pre-licensed trauma therapist who's come with me to sit down today to talk about relationships, trauma, accountability, and what we are experiencing as a community and what we need to do to get over that hump. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. What do you think it is for Black women? Why do you think we have a hard time taking accountability? I kind of want to start there.
I hope his next words are, well, assuming Black, why do you think it's such a hard thing for Black women to take accountability? Again, in the intro, she said this, but there is a presupposition there that does not make sense. And I don't know necessarily that I would accept that premise that feels really odd to say. When you say Black women find it hard to take accountability, what do you mean? I need you to explain that. What am I talking about? You cannot just generalize about a group of people and say they find it hard to take accountability without sort of explaining how, right? If your dad wasn't there and you said your dad failed to take accountability, it is because he didn't show up in your life. And that feels like there's a lack of accountability and his lack of awareness of responsibility. There's something very specific to tie the need for accountability to. When you talk about an entire group of women finding it hard to take accountability, there's a lot you need to sort of explain. What do you mean? I know I'm being nitpicky, and I do apologize. This is also one of the problems with why I should not. My community needs to be very specific because I try to pin things down, and this doesn't make sense to me, at all. Black women do not take accountability for what? How do they show up? How do Black women show up in your mind that requires accountability? What did he even do? I don't get it. I don't know.
Black women believe that they have had to pick up the slack of other people's mistakes for so long that is the accountability that they latch themselves to. And I'm not saying that that's not being accountable, but the reality of the situation is you are still accountable for the things that you have done in the midst of engaging in that level of reconstruction.
What are the things Black women have done that they need to take accountability? I need to know this. I'm so sorry. Let me write this down. Black women believe they have had to pick up the slack. Wait, sorry. What do you mean Black women believe? Black women believe they have had to take up the slack for other people. Maybe, I guess, there are two ways to interpret this. That Black women believe they had to pick up the slack. That belief is that it's something they think they have to do, but they don't have to do it, but do it still, right? That's the first. Or the second is they believe they have to pick up the slack, which means it's not real. It's in their mind that they think they have had to pick up the slack. Because if you believe they have had to pick up the slack, then you would say Black women having to pick up the slack no longer wants to take accountability, right? So I don't know how he's using belief. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't actually know how he's using belief there. Black women believe they have had to pick up the slack. Is the belief they are saying they do it, and the belief that they have to do it is why they don't believe they have to take accountability? Or is the belief they are saying they believe they've done this even if they haven't done it? I don't know which one this is. Because if you believe Black women have picked up the slack for other people, you would have said Black women have picked up the slack, not Black women believe they have to pick up. There is a detaching of truth and facts and reality, and putting it into the Black woman's head. So instead of saying Black women have had to pick up the slack because you don't want to commit to that reality, you say Black women believe they've had to pick up the slack. Yeah, I think you think it's the former. There's no reason for me to think he's like anti-Black women, right? Like I've never seen this in his content, so it's very difficult for me to make the judgment of what exactly he's saying. But this does not make sense to me. Sorry, so sorry.
From a woman's perspective, I will say, like, the number one thing that we as women want is, we want a Black man to show up in our lives as a partner.
Mm-hmm.
We want a Black man to show up in our lives as a resource, essentially, to help and to assist and to grow with. But I think as women, a lot of women feel, B. Simone just said this last week, well, why aren't Black men coming in my life and wanting me? And I think that a lot of Black women feel that frustration of like, I want to assist you, but I don't think you're not so eager to assist me. So where do we go from there?
I feel like a number of Black men have this concept or idea that the world has already assisted Black women more than the world has assisted Black men. And I recognize that. I get that. I understand that. That is not the fault of Black women. It just is not. It is not.
So sorry. Wait. Sorry. Black men believe the world has helped Black women and not Black men. He used the word belief there, but then he accepts this reality by saying it's not the fault of Black women. Wait. Sorry. I don't think these men believe in sexism. And if they believe in sexism, I don't think they believe that Black women are less privileged than Black men. I think, if I'm getting this right, I think these men are actually believing that Black women have a leg up, and so they are the double minority. They are the most oppressed insofar as I don't think if you believe sexism is an issue for women, plus racism for Black women, how do you then navigate to an answer where Black men facing racism would be far more oppressed than Black women, to the point where you're articulating an argument for, or stating an argument that pushes forward the idea that Black women are more privileged and get more help and therefore a leg up versus Black men who gets pushed back by the society? Because he says Black men think, right? And instead of rejecting the thought, he then says, yeah, this is what they think, and they shouldn't blame Black women for the fact that Black women gets pushed ahead in society and Black men gets held back. That is a wild thing to say. That is like my brain doesn't compute that. The people who are holding Black women back and Black men, let's say racism, but within the Black community, Black women are being left single mothers, right? So now they have to raise their children and take care of themselves as opposed to just themselves. Black men don't have to do that, right? Black women are being unalived, right? And one could make the argument that Black men are also being unalived. But who is doing the unaliving? And it's odd to make the argument that even though Black men are the ones unaliving Black men, that they have it harder than Black women who are also being unalived by Black men. So you take part of the group, part of our group, and you calculate the harm that we are causing ourselves, and we use that to elevate our status in terms of the victim Olympics. That feels like a wild thing to do. That feels like an extraordinarily odd thing to do. I because for me, the reason this might be annoying for people watching me right now is I am not actually responding directly to what is being said. I'm responding to the assumptions being made that lead to what is being said. And so, like, I know it might be a tad bit annoying for the listener, so I do apologize, but there's so much being accepted as reality, and I don't actually agree with the framework for which the conversation is happening in. So it's really like I feel off balance. You can see his face going through the struggle beard, and y'all thought he was gonna say something meaningful. No, 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 no. He has said meaningful things before. Like, I don't watch him. I don't I don't know his content fully, but the things that I've seen of him, I don't have like meaningful objections to. Right? Like I've seen him debate men. I don't really have I don't really have like broad objections to him generally. So I didn't know this.
Right? The way in which Black women have been able to navigate through the systems of the United States of America is, it to Black men seems like more social mobility. To Black men, it seems like more assistance. To Black men, it seems like all of these different benefits. But Black women also have the highest rate of femicide, right? Black women also have the highest rates of death on birthing tables. Black women have the highest rates of a number of things within this system. So is it that they really have more help? Is it that they really had more advancement, right? I think a number of Black men are upset.
Wait, are you not going to answer that question? He doesn't want to commit to his ideas. This is frustrating me now. He assumes the idea, but he doesn't confirm them and he doesn't stick to them. So it like he is answering in the affirmative. Yes, Black women get pushed ahead, but you shouldn't be mad about that. He doesn't say it explicitly, but he continues the conversation as if he has already accepted what he says Black men are thinking. That's a strange way to like. Why don't you commit to the idea you're putting forward? Like you put the idea forward as if it's coming from someone else, Black men, and then you affirm it without confirming at all that you agree with it, and then you carry on the conversation as if you confirm. Like, I don't know what reality we are in now. I don't know if you accept it as true or not. And I would have called him out on this. Black men believe Black women get a leg up. Pause. Do they? Do they? And why do you think Black women get a leg up over Black men? That's something else. I'm so sorry. This is annoying me. I don't like cowards. And I'm not necessarily calling him a coward. I don't know him, but it is cowardice to not be able to stand in your idea. Like, what do you believe?
That they have been held back systemically, and because Black women are the ones who are in the most proximity to them, that's who catches the most heat for that. But once again, y'all didn't have really nothing to do with that. Y'all didn't, right?
Wait, do with what? Black women do not have any role in holding black men back and pushing black women forward. Is that true? Wait, no. Is that true? Sorry, I'm wearing my headphones again because I was told I needed to not shout, and I have to hear myself to not shout. I don't know what he believes. Because in truth, I could interview him and he would say, well, I don't believe that. I was just responding to what men believe. But you move on as if it's true. You move on as if you've affirmed these men.
I firmly believe now, on the other side of that, I think that that's a skewed narrative in a lot of different ways, right? Why do black men not want to come and help me? Most black men and black women who earn over $100,000 a year are married to other black men and black women, right? Most black men who we would consider to be skewed narrative in a lot of different ways, right? Why do black men not want to come and help me? Most black men and black women who earn over $100,000 a year are married to other black men and black women.
Not true. Not true. Not true. So I would let this go, but since he's in a PhD program of sorts, I don't know. I am assuming he's gone through some level of statistics in school. And so while I would let that go on sort of a general conversation, I'm not letting it go here. Most black men who make over $100,000 aren't married. To be clear, it was, I think, 6% of black adults make upwards of $100,000, right? Of that 6%, those who are married, right, they do marry intra-racially, but that's of 6%. So when you say most black people who make over 100,000 are married to other black people, it makes it seem like these people are marrying, and we're just not. Like, that's not a thing. So I don't know what you're doing. If he said that of the people who marry, they tend to marry black people, then yes, that's true. I don't know if this is a misspeak or intentionally misleading, because I've heard this misspeak a lot. Yeah.
Right? Most black men who we would consider to be upwardly mobile are married to black women, right?
Wait, no. Is that a misspeak? I don't know if he's intentionally lying or if he's just like misspeaking. Because I can understand how this is confusing. Most black people who are upwardly mobile aren't married. First, actually define what it means to be upwardly mobile. And second, most black people just aren't married. So it doesn't make sense to, like, oh my God. Of the people, when black people marry, they're more likely to marry another black person. This is true. But we don't get married statistically. Yeah, I think it might be a misunderstanding. Yeah, I think it might just be a misunderstanding. I'm gonna leave that alone because, yeah.
So is it truly this idea of why do black men not want to come help me? Or have we not taken the time within ourselves, both black men and black women, to challenge the narrative that we have about one another in our minds, right? Now,
wait. Sorry, even if it's misspeaking, you're using the misspeak, the misunderstand to justify your argument. You can't use that argument. You can't say black people marry each other when they get married, yes, let's just leave it there. Let's not get into the stats and who's more likely to do this and who's more likely to do that. Let's not do that. Let's just assume that we don't have to engage with who marries out more, any of that. Even if true, the percentage is less than, you said, upwards of 100,000. 6%, and of that 6%, then we get to 80%. It is wild. Like, this is wild to me. Like, that you're using this to make the argument is if Black women say Black men aren't trying to build with them and they use marriage as an example, it is true that Black men are least likely to be married. I don't understand this argument. These men do not want to be married. Like, no, yeah, like across the board when it comes to Black men, we just don't get married. Like, we don't. Like, that's insane to me. This interpretation.
I will say that with Black men, a number of Black men, they have internalized white domination style patriarchy. So in other words, you can't out-earn me, you can't out-move me, you can't, because all of these things threaten my masculinity. Black men will fight about this tooth and nail. I really don't give a fuck. Your behaviors betray you. You get upset when this woman is upwardly mobile. You get upset when this woman has access to these things. You get upset when this woman out-earns you. Why? For what? To what end? How can you supplement this woman moving in this way? A number of Black women have also internalized white domination male patriarchy, right? Even though I make this amount of money, I still want you to be able to come in and do all of this work. Why? How does that benefit you? How does that supplement you in any other way but egotistically?
How does a man meeting you where you're at or above supplement you in a capitalist society other than your ego? Come again? Question mark? Sorry. I feel like I'm having how dare a woman in a patriarchy want her man to make as much or more than her? And the reason he doesn't think that is smart is because you making money and a man making money more than you, or doing what a man's supposed to do in a patriarchy, quote unquote, doesn't supplement anything. How does that not supplement anything in a capitalism? Wait, that does. Like, even if you're making, let's say, 200,000, and you're like, oh, I want a man to make 250,000, right? Do you not see how that would supplement her? Like beyond ego, like legit beyond ego. These private schools aren't going to pay for themselves. These private schools, if you want, right? Like, I'm assuming you want a good, what? Why would you reduce what women want their men to, how they want men to show up as sort of ego? When she gets pregnant and if she decides, you know what, I don't want to work. Like, what do you mean it doesn't? Like, I'm actually so confused. I'm gonna rewind this because maybe I misunderstood what he is saying. Like, how dare you be successful as a woman and also want your man to be more successful or as successful? I don't know, because we're in a patriarchy 1 and 2. You just admitted that men also feed into patriarchy. So if Black men are feeding into patriarchy, calm down. What he means is he can pay the life. And if that's the relationship you want, I'm not here. First of all, second of all, and third of all, do not take relationship advice from me. That's point blank, period. A fruitcake is a fruitcake is a fruitcake. Do not ever in your life take dating advice from me. Even if I'm trying to give it to you, just remind me that I said you're not supposed to take it. I don't say that jokingly or to be self deprecating. I'm saying that you need to do you how you want to do you, regardless of how I think about how you do you. Right? So if you want a man to rest at home while you go out and work, that sounds like a you choice to make. And I'm saying that jokingly, but like it is actually a you choice to make. Do not let anyone shame you into doing anything that you don't want to do, including me. Okay, period. All right, now let me go back.
Oh, I make this amount of money. I still want you to be able to come in and do all of this work. Why? How can you supplement this woman moving in this way? A number of Black women have also internalized white domination, male patriarchy, right? Even though I make this amount of money, I still want you to be able to come in and do all of this work. Why? How does that benefit you?
So she can rest if she chooses. So your life can be better. So he can be elevating the life and not taking from it. So he can be helpful and not parasitic. What do you mean? Also, why is it seen as like white male patriarchy? Because I may need to do some research on like how many the red pill's been talking about how this is evolutionary biology and how let me not do that right now. Mm-mm. Uh-uh. This sounds like a game. This feels like he's running game. This feels like he's setting Black women up to labor. I'm sorry. This is what it feels like to me. It feels like he's setting Black women up to labor. I'm sorry. I can't relate to this. I can. As much of a fruitcake as I've been, I like the idea of taking care of people, so I can't relate. I, why do you want me to show up and work and do wait when when how do you want to show up? Let me play. This is my here now. How do you want to show up? I don't know. What do you mean? How do you want to show up in her life? She's a boss babe. What do you want to do? Do you want to what do you like? I'm so confused. What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
How does that supplement you in any other way but egotistically? You want to be, I've said it before that the soft life or the glam life is white femininity painted Black.
I would like to shout out Nicardo Moran.
The soft life is white femininity painted Black. Girl. he said go to work. Go. Girl, he said, young ladies, young women, y'all need to get a. She said, nobody want to work. Where's that? No, I'm not going to find it. But imagine me playing the Kim Kardashian clip right now. It seems like nobody want to work these days. He said what? He said resting. He said the soft life is just white femininity painted Black. Because Black women don't like have the soft life. There is no soft lifing it up. So we was not kings. We was not. You're telling me we weren't kings and she weren't queens? I am intentionally doing the grammar issue. Please do not come in the comments and tell me that my grammar is off. Whenever I'm talking about kings and queens, the grammar is intentional. So we was not kings, and she was not queens. Period. Period. Y'all thought the soft life was a thing. It wasn't a thing. The soft life isn't a thing. The soft life is just for white women. And period. Period. I am a gay. Oh, I'm not reading that. And the only people I want to take care of is Black women. 100% of all men can miss me with the beers. That don't even make sense to me. To say that the soft life. I don't know. I feel like there's a part of me that wished he had said the soft life for Black women is aspirational, and he hopes that one day Black men will be able to provide Black women the soft life. There's a I don't know. And maybe that is leaning too heavily into patriarchy, and I can appreciate that critique. I'm fine with it. I'm not saying that's true, but there's a part of me that would have been more accepting of this if that was stated. Um, that man said, y'all need to get up and work. Everything boils down to the wage gap per the US Department of Labor and the well known. The men's are filled with ego and audacity. Hashtag no free lunch 2025. Period. Yeah, Brianna, that's so sad. Living well is for what I just that's insanity to me.
For helping me with this podcast production. And Cardo, if it wasn't for you, this podcast, if anyone else is Twitter Morant at info@dreamarmedia.com. Okay, bye.
That's what it is. That's genuinely what it is. And a number of Black women cannot stand hearing that, but that's what it is. Right?
I want to pause really quick.
Go ahead.
Is because, don't you think that it's almost empowering to see Black women taken care of and to see them allowed to live life softly and gently when we've seen the opposite for so long?
I do believe that it's empowering. And once again, at what cost? At what cost? When we look at how it is, because once again.
So no, why would you say yes and? Why would you say yes and? The answer is no. If you're gonna follow it up with what you don't think it's empowering, if it was empowering, you would want to do it, or you're like, I need you to do this balancing test because this yes and is killing me. This is not Ariana Grande. Like, we're not singing right now. It's not giving it's not giving Ariana Grande, who no one said yes and. Say yes, but, so we can dismiss everything you said previous to but. Yes, but who gonna work? This is him. This is what he's actually saying. Yes, I think it is empowering to see Black women living the soft life, but who gonna provide it? Someone got to provide the soft life. And by the way, you can lean into the whole idea of soft life and capitalism and all of that. You can do that on your own time. I will not engage with anything like, oh my God, you're leaning into capitalism. I never told y'all that I leaned out of capitalism, so I don't know why you would. I don't know why you would. So let's let's hear this again. Yes, and
I do believe that it's empowering, and once again, at what cost? At what cost? When we look at how it is, because once again, all of the ways in which we are contextualizing our relationship models are based upon white supremacy, are based upon white nationalism. If we look at the divorce rates in white communities, if we look at outside of when the cameras are off, when we look at how it is that these white folks engage in one another, do they really love one another? Or are they so concerned about their performances that they neglect their emotional spaces?
Well, unless when the cameras are off, you're in these white people's lives, then you don't know, like I don't know. So we can say we don't know and move on. Do not assume they're not living good lives and they're not happy and in love, and then move from that premise. Don't assume that. Because if you say it's in the dark of night when the cameras are off and we don't have access to them, are they happy and emotionally engaged? You don't know. I don't know. We don't know. Okay, move on. Please don't use that. Please do not use that to validate some dusty talking point about why Black women do not get to have the soft life.
Right? So to everybody else, my life is glamorous, my life is this, my life is that. To yourself, oh, I have all of these things and I'm able to engage in all of this feeling of softness, this feeling of rest, right? Are you able to reciprocate that?
Okay, that's a great question because I don't know if we talked about it.
Where he said, can you give him the soft life? Can you? I promise you this. Let me be very honest. I, as a feminist, I am. I believe in the equality of the sexes. I believe that because you're a man doesn't mean you are the de facto leader. And because you're a woman don't mean you're the de facto follower and submissive, right? Don't believe none of that. But I've always known from a very small age until now that I need to take care of my family and I have to do what I need to do to take care of my partner if I ever have one, right? And I find joy, tremendous joy, in the ability to take care of my family. It is wild to me. I have never, ever thought to myself, you need to make me rest. Like all my life, I think about sort of how I make my family rest. How can I be of service? How can I be good to people? Like obviously I want to sleep and all of that, but like my internal locus drives me, and there is some external, but it drives me to take care of people. And it I would never ever dare looking at someone, this woman talking to me and be like, are you going to make, maybe he meant emotionally. Maybe he meant emotionally. Because I think everyone has a responsibility to make everyone emotionally rest, I guess, and give them a good soft play. But she was talking about the soft life. So when you are you asking for the soft life too? Wait, there's a part of me that feels toxic. There's a part because nothing about a man asking for a woman to provide him the soft life feel right to me. And have I been absorbed in patriarchy so much that like I can't even really deal with that men want to be taken care of too, that men want the soft life too, and that women can in heterosexual relationship, let's be clear, provide for men to have a soft life. You said sprinkle, sprinkle. No, absolutely not. Drizzle, drizzle. Girl, drizzle, drizzle. Drizzle, drizzle. Girl, it's drizzling. Oh my God. Oh, yikes. Yikes. I feel like I should be cheering for him. I feel like I should agree with him. I feel like I should want, nothing about this feels right. Nothing, like it doesn't, and I'm thinking about sort of imagine a woman, and this happens, right? This happens. But like it doesn't make sense to me, and I've never experienced it in my personal life or circle. But I do know that there are women who have stay-at-home husbands, right? Like, and so this happens where a woman will take care of a man and give him the soft life, and she'll be pregnant and go to work. She'll be pregnant, go to work, pregnant, have the child, take some leave, and then go back to work while he is at home. And it there's something about this that is like, obviously, if you want equality, there's that. But is that equal? because you're bringing life into the world. In this example, in this very specific example, you are pregnant, you're taking care of yourself, not just for you, but for your unborn child. You're having your child, and then you're going directly to work. And maybe that's a critique of capitalism as opposed to man-woman relationship. But I don't know, I feel like, imagine if you have a bad pregnancy and like you need someone to step up and take care of the bills, because the bills are going to keep coming. But then on the other hand, as a feminist, my feminist brain is, but women can do anything, but like you shouldn't have to. Like, even if you're in a lesbian relationship, I'm assuming your partner would be there for like, it don't feel right. Okay, like I'm trying to agree with him, but nothing about it feels right to me. Black women have been reciprocating and contributing to Black male femininity for decades now. Men's being swallowed up in submissive providing, period. I'm gonna drop the link at some point because I do actually need some feedback on that on their spit.
On camera, but off camera, you mentioned that can Black women allow Black men to rest and allow Black men to also experience a level of, ease, essentially, that they aren't used to.
Can Black women allow Black men to rest and allow Black? How did the question flip? Y'all, how did the? Sorry. How did the? How did the question flip to whether or not Black women can allow Black men ease and comfort, the soft life? Yeah, who looking for a date? Which of y'all are here looking? I didn't realize y'all were giving men the soft life. I didn't realize. That's,
I don't know if we talked about it on camera, but off camera, you mentioned that can Black women allow Black men to rest and allow Black men to also experience a level of, ease, essentially, that they aren't used to. And
hold on a real quick second.
Yeah.
Because now I do mean to cut you off because I feel like I can take your question and ask it very succinctly. Can Black men engage in softness and in that quote unquote soft life without their masculinity being questioned?
Why would you see? This is some foolishness. You just said there would be too much at stake for Black women to be living the soft life, and now you're asking if Black men. You just rejected Black women. When she asked about Black women living the soft life, he said it looked empowering, and there's too much at stake. It'll cost too much, right? But then he is asking the same question. Girl, just repeat what he said to you. Say, no, Black men can't get the soft life because there's too much. Imagine the cost. What will that cost? Is what he told you. He said, what would that cost? It ain't right. We have too much to do. Okay, fine. Now he's asking the same question. Just repeat his answer back to him. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The fact that he would re-ask for himself after rejecting it for her is nasty work to me. It's absolutely nasty work. Asking about how you... Talking about how will Black men's masculinity be affected if they try to get a soft life. Well, I mean, what masculinity are we talking about? Manosphere advocates marriage as wealth building. It is. Well, depending on the marriage, but I think it is a business structure that, when done right, if done right, can be very useful for upward mobility. With all the tax structures around it, I think it could be good if both people are invested.
To the masses, no.
There we go.
No.
There we go.
No.
So in order for you to be soft, I have to be what?
Hardworking, and
I have to be hard all the time.
yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
In order for you to revel in this space, I have to be what? I have to be holed up. I have to be wound up. I have to be tightened up.
Sacrifice.
Right? I have to consistently sacrifice. Are you in your space of rest able to identify how it is that what it is that I'm doing creates this space of difficulty processing particular emotions for me? Right? If I've created a safe space for you, can you, outside of your soft life, outside of your rest, can you be that safe space for me without it creating a space of anxiety for you to say to yourself, if this man breaks, this will interrupt my soft life. This will interrupt my rest.
Wait, I don't under. I don't under. Yes, if you're providing someone the soft life and you can't provide it anymore, then yes, it will interrupt the soft life. Please don't do that. Continue to work. I don't under. He's not about to let Black women have soft life living, not on his watch. That's for him and his fellow kings. What's wild is that if they want softness and leadership. Yes, because they're talking, he is essentially, and I don't disagree with deconstructing patriarchy, but in the deconstruction of patriarchy, like, what is left? And this is what I don't like with sort of the postmodern approach to, like, pretty much anything. No, that's not true. Storytelling is good. There is not an end. There is nothing concrete. Everything is objectionable. Everything is up for debate in terms of meaning, and that's fine. But we have to have some sort of grounding at some point. Like, we have to have some kind of grounding and standard. And it just, one thing he is not going to agree on is that the man should provide something. I don't know. And he is using feminist language. Like, let's be very clear, he's not anti-feminist. He's very, and I think he would agree that he leans very heavily into feminist theory, because that's the kind of deconstruction that is happening. But there are biological realities for women. And so it doesn't, what he's thinking as fear, ultimately, when it all comes out in the wash, would not be fear. 50-50 is not 50-50 unless you can carry 50% of this pregnancy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, but even using pregnancy to engage, I have been talking to people who are feminist, women in particular, and they are very against the idea of pregnancy being invoked, because it was used historically to disenfranchise women. And so that biological reality for women who choose to have children, and those who don't, feminists tend to not want to use that as a part of the calculation, because it has been used and weaponized against women as a class. That's tough, because I use it in my calculation. It's all up in my calculation. Stop talking to those feminists. Problem solved. Thank you, Mushu. Willow.
That's what I mean when I say a number of Black men are afraid to engage in emotional investment because they are terrified that they will not get it back. And a number of men, not just Black men, but a number of men do not believe that they have enough emotional currency to go around.
And what do you mean emotional currency? What does that mean?
So when I say emotional currency, in a lot of different ways, men are used to being emotionally neglected. Men are used to being emotionally invalidated, right? So when I
And women are not. And women are not. I'm assuming he means in a relationship. Men don't even know how to deal with our own emotions. The entire psychology field, and you were in this, I'm assuming. Last year, all the articles coming out of Psychology Today and research rather pointed to the fact that men do not know how to engage with emotion. So if we're talking about emotional neglect, the likelihood that people who don't even understand emotion generally will not be neglectful in a relationship is absolutely absurd. That is absolutely absurd. Women get emotional connection and get feedback from friends. If men can't do that among ourselves, that is a male specific problem. And leveraging the fact that we don't know how to engage with our emotion among our friends, leveraging that against women seems an odd thing to do, particularly when it's sounding like you're saying now women should take up the emotional labor of men. Like, no, that's not right. That's not right. That is not right.
When I read listicles or when I read these lists of what the top 10 things, the top 10 most shocking things that women learn about men, one of them is that they don't get compliments often. So if we think about how often men actually get affirmed, if we think about those things as tokens, right? How often do those tokens get deposited into that emotional bank?
Wait, men don't get affirmed? I don't know how to calculate this. I can only speak from my own experience, and I get affirmed a lot and too much. So I don't know. I can't speak to other men's experience of not being affirmed. I can speak to that. I honest to God can speak to that. I don't know. Like I can't say he's lying or telling the truth. I know among other men, men don't get affirmed. Like we know this, but that feels like a male specific problem. So telling a woman this feels odd because, again, it feels like you're trying to engage her in more emotional labor. Compliment the homie, hug the homie.
Not very often. So if I don't have a lot of currency in here to begin with, how can I continue giving these things to you? Eventually, I will become emotionally bankrupt.
No. You don't give it at all. That's the whole problem. Men don't know how to emotionally connect. The fact that he's a soon-to-be therapist and he's not engaging in the psychological work around men and dating is kind of weird. That is kind of weird because the fact that you're saying men are withholding it, no, they don't know how to engage with it. Is the answer. So the idea that they're giving it to women and not getting it back is a liar. It's not true. It's a lie. It is a lie. That is definitely a lie.
And then at the point that I'm emotionally bankrupt, you're going to ask for more because you recognize that you're not getting it.
So I feel like Black women and Black men are asked to sacrifice so much in their relationship to one another. And
Wait, sorry, what are Black men sacrificing? Did I miss it? Wait, I don't did I miss what Black men are sacrificing? She's just talking to talk. She's just talking to talk. Got it.
I'm
I
tired
think
of
that a lot
sacrificing.
of, yeah, I think a lot of Black women feel that same way, you know? And so who's gonna sacrifice more essentially? And a lot of Black women think that Black men should sacrifice more.
Right.
And I'm this isn't my opinion. I'm just trying to like navigate this conversation into which both people can understand each other. And so
Go speak for yourself. Like, why do he does it, she does it? Like, what do you believe? Should Black men sacrifice? Do you believe Black men should sacrifice more?
So a lot of people in our community believe that men should sacrifice more than women. Or does it have to be one sacrificing more than the other? Or is there a level where we can equally sacrifice for each other?
I'm gonna walk. You've been playing devil's advocate. Now I'm gonna play devil's courtroom. Why do we feel like men should have to sacrifice more?
Okay. It's definitely a narrative.
Because we're in a patriarchy. Because you make more. Why are you answering? Yes, King Slay. There you go, man. Now you have been affirmed. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze.
Like within like the patriarchal society and like the relationships that men and women have, that if men are supposed to lead the family and be the leaders of community, leaders are often hit with the responsibility to have this, you know, extra added weight than everybody else.
Right.
And so as a man and as a leader, it's often believed that you're supposed to have that added extra weight.
I don't even know why you said that to this man. As a man, this man just told you he wanted to rest, and you sitting there telling this man that he's a lead.
Right. Now, I recognize that you identify patriarchy. Although Black men are complicit in patriarchy, they do not get a net positive return from patriarchy. So once again, if we're looking at this from a perspective of currency, how am I going to sacrifice more when I'm not given enough to sacrifice to begin with? That's a question.
What do you need?
If you don't believe you are given anything in a patriarchy, because to think you are given something as a man in a patriarchy is nasty work, right? The only thing you're given is a title, and then women submit to you, and then you go out there to do what you need to do. You are the leader. And this is a thing, maybe that's what it is. When I hear leader, I hear servant. I think leader and servant are one and the same. So for me, even in a patriarchy, when I hear patriarchy and men, I think you should serve. You should take care of. You should make sure people's lives are better. So that's kind of how I interpret it, even though I still reject it for other reasons. What do you mean? Sorry. It is the way she asked the question, so I can't really blame him.
Patriarchy, they do not get a net positive return from patriarchy. So once again, if we're looking at this from a perspective of currency, how am I going to sacrifice more when I'm not given enough to sacrifice to begin with? That's a question.
What do you need to be given?
The ability to lift, carry, and move and have that social mobility without being interrupted by systemic processes.
So Black relationship.
Oh, he just talks. He just talks. Lift, carry, and move. What way? Lift, carry, and lift. All right, girl. Period. Lift, carry, and lift, carry, and move, because you're gonna carry something without moving it. Live, carry, and move what exactly? Live, carry, and move what? What are you lifting? What are you carrying? And what are you moving? And who should give you that opportunity, that ability to lift? Who I do believe something is in the way of Black people. I do believe that racism exists. So let me say that. So on the don't stop me bit, I agree. But who should give you the lift? Who gonna give? Someone said forklift.
Are a completely different dynamic than, and I'm assuming, than other relationships of other cultures.
Yes.
And we cannot expect the same things that other cultures have within our relation to each other.
So then why do we? Why do Black women, once again, if the reward for patriarchy is mobility, political representation, and power, and we acknowledge that Black men, although we participate in the patriarchy, we do not get the same net benefits. Why are we still held to the same standard?
Because you're complicit in it. You just said we are complicit. You just said, how can you be complicit in the system? And then what? So you want Black women to recognize Black men being complicit in a system of patriarchy, but not hold them to the standard. So if you're complicit, but you can't meet the standard, what it means is you individually will not be the man that patriarchy requires you to be. But if you're complicit, you are going to want the women to be the women that patriarchy requires them to be. Why would they not hold you to the standard? Why would women ever not hold you to the standard while you are holding them to that standard? What do you mean? That doesn't make sense. You just admit that Black men are complicit in this system of patriarchy. And then you're telling Black women to not hold them to the standard of patriarchy for men, while they're complicit, which means that they're holding Black women to the standard. What sense does that make to you? The only answer, by the way, is a submissive provider. That is the only answer. That is the only answer. If he had said Black men opted out of patriarchy and are pushing back against patriarchy, then he has an argument of why Black women should not hold Black men to the standard of patriarchy. But if Black men are holding Black women to the patriarchal standard, why would the reverse be obvious? You want her to be submissive, barefoot at home cooking, you need to provide something. Oh, they can't, they don't match. They can't get together. They can't get together if the men hold women to the patriarchal standard, i.e., you need to be submissive, cook, clean, and all of that. And the men cannot be held to the patriarchal standard. They wouldn't match. That's a recipe for destruction, disaster. That's what that is. Men can expect everything from a woman, and the woman doesn't expect anything from the man. What? That don't make sense. You just said that men are complicit. If men are complicit in patriarchy while not meeting the standard, their complicit nature is that they want women to fulfill the role. And maybe they beat themselves up psychologically. I don't know, don't care. But if they are complicit, that means they're trying to get women to do it. That don't make sense.
I guess I don't see any Black man advocating on a mass level, or Black men advocating on a mass level for to end it.
Did you not hear him say Black men are complicit? He already told you. Why would the men who are complicit in his mind, why would he then tell you that? Why would you ask this question? Oh.
And patriarchy, or to stop, you know what I mean, participating in it. So because we're living in a system that Black men are wanting to be in, in order to live in that system and live under that system and live under those rules, the expectation should still be there, essentially.
I understand that logic. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Would you argue that Black women do not want to be underneath the system of patriarchy?
It actually doesn't matter. The answer to that doesn't matter. If Black women don't want to be under the system of patriarchy, unless they're going to drag Black men out, it don't matter. Even if Black women didn't want to be under the system of patriarchy, it wouldn't matter if they want to be partnered with Black men who are complicit. Unless you going to tell them how to change Black men's mind. It wouldn't matter. Why would you change the question on her? Watch her answer to it. That's the annoying part. She's going to attempt to answer. No, of course we don't. We're just so cute and cuddly and we don't want to. No, don't answer him.
Yeah, they don't.
I would argue differently.
You would argue that they want to be.
I would argue that there are particular points of the patriarchy that they still want to be able to have access to.
I agree. Yeah,
and they are not willing to sacrifice those parts of the patriarchy in order to dismantle the patriarchy.
Now we got to give examples.
So in the book, When Chicken Heads Come Home to Roost, Hip Hop Feminist breaks it down. Joan Morgan asks the question, am I still down for the cause if I were to say that there are particular parts of the patriarchy that turn me on?
Yes, you can still be down for the cause. Yes, you can. When you say you want to dismantle a system, it does not mean every part of that system has to go. It is idiotic. It is absolutely repugnant for anyone, any intellectual, anyone claiming to be an intellectual, to pretend that you can't maintain parts of a, quote, bad system. You cannot sit there and pretend like you can't save parts of a system when you are dismantling it. He just answered your question. I don't remember my question. Is he feminist? Is that the question? I know he's feminist. Immediately I knew. Immediately. And I do like, and I wish more men would dismantle systems of power and patriarchy. But if the result is that you expect women to do the both physical, financial, emotional labor for you, then you're just as bad. This is giving me what's Marissa's man's Ramses, right? Ramses is the type of guy who is like, oh, I'm for equality, but what he means by equality is that you take care of me, you make me happy, you provide for me, you work while I sit here and do nothing. I am against patriarchy so long as I don't have to engage it. You, however, have to.
Whew, that's good. That's good. And so the soft life is one of them.
Yes.
Like we were just saying.
Yes.
That's a part of the patriarchy that Black women...
It don't even got to be to the point of the soft life.
Okay.
There are a number of women who will turn into a sexually diffused puddle just by watching men be men around them. That is a performance of the patriarchy.
Girl, patriarchy as an amorphous idea means that he can escape with pretty much saying anything. He can say whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants.
So what parts of the patriarchy are women willing to
What are you willing to sacrifice in order to get the outcome that you are looking for? Are you willing to be uncomfortable in order to get to a point of political and ideological comfortability or equanimity? Joan Morgan asked the question, am I really equipped to be in a gender neutral society where men do not open doors for me simply because I'm a woman?
No, they're not. They're not. They want that level of appreciation, respect, care, that level of like gentleness that they get to experience in it, where women are perceived.
Okay, so for the women who continue to want patriarchy, that's fine. The men, Black men, also want patriarchy. They're complicit in patriarchy. Now, can they hold them to the patriarchal standard? No. Can they do it now? Because you just went all around the bush for no reason. Women, they said they don't want to give up patriarchy because they want to be soft and they can't live, they don't want to open their own doors. Okay, fine. You got it. Now, can they hold men to the patriarchal standard? Can they do it now? Can they do it now? Okay, apparently she can't open her own door. apparently she's willing to give up her rights and freedom. Apparently she's willing to give it all up for a man to open a door. For a door. A door. Ain't no way. Stressing me out. By the way, let me be clear. I open door for men, women, and children. I open door for everyone.
As,
Softer.
yeah, and able to be taken care of. So it's like, do they have to sacrifice that care to dismantle?
That's a part of the patriarchy.
But
Chivalry is a part of the patriarchy.
Okay.
Right? Now, am I saying that, once again, the question that you're asking me is, do I have to sacrifice this? Until we can create a space or until we can create a system where this is has equanimity or has the ability for both parties to engage? Yes. Yes.
And what does it?
No, you can expect it from people. Within the system, you still have to live. If you as a woman start sacrificing things before this new system of equality or equity comes about, you lose in terms of, and I'm not just saying losing as a game, I mean you lose your life, you lose your livelihood, you lose your self-esteem, you lose your mental and physical health, you lose absolutely everything. I love how he keeps citing feminist scholars and ignore the second shift that women have to engage with. In the process for equality, unless men are engaging with you, you are left with the burden of not just having the child and taking care of the child, but now taking care of him, taking care of the home. Girl, all right, girl. All right. That is so wild to me. It is wild to me that he's sitting up here after reading The Feminist Scholar and he comes out pushing back so forcefully at her. And you know what? I will give her grace. Not really, because she shouldn't have asked the question. Actually, no grace. Absolutely no grace. Because she shouldn't have asked, why is it so hard for women to take accountability? Shouldn't have asked that question. Should have asked whether or not women find it hard to take accountability if you wanted his answer and not shove your thoughts down his throat for him to contend with. So I'm not even going to do that to you. It is wild, though, that he, as the person who's done the reading, would chastise women for what they want as if that is what is dictating how terrible men have been to both women and children. And also, let me do not both, actually, women, children, and each other. If you admit that men are complicit in patriarchy and they want it and they don't want to give it up, it is wild for you then to give women that role of adjusting their need and wants from a man while giving the man all that they require within the framework of patriarchy. That is weird to me. I think that's weird. I think there's a conversation with men, among men, about patriarchy that needs to happen.
The dynamic between a Black woman and a Black man who's sacrificing those things look like that's healthy?
It's an episode of The Cosby Show. We talk about Heathcliff and Claire. I talk about Bill Cosby. We talk about Heathcliff and Claire. Make that very clear, right? There was an episode where Elvin, with his male chauvinist ass, Elvin asked Claire about the things that she does for her husband. And Claire, her response was extremely elegant, as Felicia Rashad always is. She says, I pour my husband a cup of tea in the evening the same way my husband will pour me a cup of coffee in the morning. And I think that one line is a variation of that. I may not have gotten it correct. But once again, it's about reciprocation. Are you willing to give back what it is that you are asking for? And a number of Black men or Black.
Why would you give back? This is something that I've never understood. I don't, if I'm giving you something, it's because you want it. What I want probably looks different from what I'm giving you. And the coffee tea thing should have wakened him to the idea that what you do is different a lot of the time. So that's the first part. The second part is this kind of 50-50 relationship. Like, I'm not even opposed to it, right? Like, whatever, do it. Great. It never works out that way. Very rarely does a man really think about that which the woman is giving and making sure, to the best he can, make sure that he is putting just as much in. How do you calculate for childbearing? How do you calculate for these kinds of emotional labor and investment? Like, how do you calculate for a lot of things? I don't think you know how to do that. And I think what tends to happen because of how we have been socialized is that women take on a lot more burden. And then there is this competition for women to show that they can do it all. They can go to work and they can come home and they can submit and they can raise the children, have the child, and get back to business, in the words of Beyonce. That is the feminist, strong enough to bear your children, then get back to business. That's the feminist mantra. And it puts women at a distinct disadvantage of always trying to compete, always trying to provide, always trying to be there, and resting becomes a thing for men, I guess, and not for women, ultimately. 50-50 never works out 50-50.
Black women are not willing to do that because reciprocation removes from the ideology that supports your feminine or masculine ego. Women don't do this. Men don't do this. I shouldn't have to do this. Why shouldn't you? You're an able-bodied individual. Because this chips away at my egotistical conceptualization.
Thank you. For the Bill Cosby show, one of them was a doctor, the other one was a lawyer. I feel like in terms of coming to the table, they had a bunch to bring. But in the beginning, you were talking about if a woman was already successful, what does he need? What does she need the man to come in and do more for? That's what you were talking about.
Of my femininity or my masculinity.
So I want to break it down. Ideally what women are looking for, Black women, what they would love for is to be taken care of, not have to worry about the bills financially.
They're looking for benevolent patriarchs.
Yeah, you have the 50-50. You see that mortgage conversation, that there's a trend going on in TikTok where a bunch of women are asking the man oh, I can't pay the mortgage this month. And then the men that can't pay the full mortgage, women are praising them in the comments. And then the 50-50 couples, women are just trashing and making feel bad.
But 50-50 is more Afrocentric.
50-50 is not more Afrocentric. Stick a pin right there. I'm just going to go back because 50-50 is not more Afrocentric. I feel like she got the wrong lesson. I think she got the wrong lesson from that. Imagine, right, that TikTok where women came up to their men and they said, hey, babe, I don't actually have enough money to help with these bills or the mortgage at the end of the month. Imagine, if you will, imagine this is true and these bills can't get paid. Because she can't pay the bill, the bills don't get paid. What do y'all do now? What do you all do now? And I'm not fighting against 50-50. Hopefully people are saving, right? The whole idea, I was watching that and I'm like, okay, it sounds like she pays the bills. And if she can't pay it, he pays it. Or he pays the bill. If he can't pay it, she pays it, right? Like that's what I was thinking in my mind, not what the comments are doing to the men who can't pay. Now, when you say 50-50 is more Afrocentric, which Afrocentric are you talking about? Because it can't be the Afrocentric where y'all thought that these men were kings and had multiple wives. Girl, I'm not gonna. I need you to define for me what you mean by Afrocentric. 50-50 is Afrocentric. I'm gonna need y'all to define this because it's not true. 50-50 don't sound nothing Afrocentric to me. I'm thinking about Nigeria in particular, but I have not thought of a tribe in anywhere, any of the countries that I've ever thought about or done research on in undergrad. I've never seen like 50-50 as a concept, as an Afrocentric concept. Let me Google what Afrocentric means, because maybe I'm thinking about it wrong fully. Afrocentric is a cultural and political movement that regards all Black as wait. I just realized that is the Hotep Afrocentric because it centering. I think maybe in the Hotep movement, in the Hotep arena, he might be right. Afrocentric, no. If you're talking about centering African culture, then no. If you're saying Afrocentric as a movement that is in alignment with Hotep, then yes. Because what I've noticed with Hoteps, I'm not saying this is true. Apparently, there's a bunch of women who will go out and work and bring their money home for men, or like these men will be at home reading and like studying, quote unquote, and teaching, quote unquote, not really. And the woman will actually go and engage in capitalism because these men have to be pure and not engage with like the white man work. And so the woman will come and provide for these men. Maybe that's maybe because I have not yet met that this Afrocentrism. Demas, you ain't got no job likely Huxtable because we never see you working. Period.
Full mortgage. Women are praising them in the comments. Then the 50-50 couples, women are just like trashing and making feel bad.
But 50-50 is more Afrocentric.
I remember you saying you are now you are a Hotep. It's fine. It's a phase. You'll get out of it soon, hopefully. I kicked and clawed my way out of Hotepery.
Mm.
When we talk about Black contextualizations of relationships, we don't have as much role rigidity. We have role fluidity. The role that you perform is the role that you are strong at, or the role that you perform is what the situation calls for. There is no men do this or women do this. Who has the capacity, who has the resource, and who has the access to be able to do it? Because at the end of the day, it still needs to get done.
By the way, when I think of Afrocentrism, I'm thinking about it from a purely academic perspective, and that's why I went back to Africa, the continent, and try to parse through countries, because my idea, again, would be the values and cultures that exist, and challenges the idea of white and European dominance, right? That's how I understood it academically in school. But I also recognize there are movements, as I was talking about specific tribes and how they might have related to each other prior to colonialism, imperialism, I realize there are contemporary movements around Afrocentrism. So that's why I pivoted back to like Hotep.
The role that you are strong at or the role that you perform is what the situation calls for. There is no men do this or women do this. Who has the capacity, who has the resource, and who has the access to be able to do it? Because at the end of the day, it still needs to get done. When we are arguing about what a man does or what a woman does, that delays the process of the shit getting done. Just do it.
That, by the way, is what Black women have been doing. And he said, Black women believe they have had to pick up the slack. And that is the problem. Thinking it has to get done and you need to do it is what leads you, Black women, to pick up the slack of everyone else. And then he says that is not accountability in and of itself. You also now need to take accountability for your own action, which, by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't take accountability for your action. It is being told that you need to get the work done, right, on one hand, and on the other saying that is not accountability. That is wild to me. So you open with Black femicide and then you brushed it aside. We'll come back to that hopefully. Apparently not. We have like a couple more minutes, so I'm guessing we're not going to come back to that. And then separately, you are saying Black women, if the thing needs to get done, just do it. Because you can't be talking to Black men and Black women, because you open by saying Black women believe they're picking up the slack for everyone else. And yes, they are. So I don't know why you're preaching to the group that is doing the thing that you said they're doing in the opening. You said Black women believe they have had to pick up the slack for everyone else. If true, why are you telling them to do it when it got to get done? It sounds like they're doing it when it has to get done. That is what picking up the slack means, if I'm correct. Why are you telling them if it got to get done, it got to get done? Stop pressuring men to do. Apparently, they're not pressuring men to do anything. They're picking up the slack, as you've opened with, unless you didn't actually believe it when you said it, or you think they believe it, but it's not real.
So do you love him or do you love what he can do for you?
Do you love her or do you love what she can do for you? So once
both. Wait. What do you think love is? What do you think love is? Because I'm not gonna just love you. I'm loving you and what you can do for me. Like, what do you? Yes, you have to do. You have to do something. There is no loving you. The person is able to exist because of what they do. What you do is intrinsically linked to who you are. You can't separate what you do as a human being, not just your job, but what you do, who you are. What you do for someone is legitimately who you are. How you show up for people is who you are. You can't say, do you love me or do you love me for what I can do for you? Now, you can separate that and say financially, but what? How would I know you outside of what you do for me? And not just for me, what you do, period. We make judgment about who you are based on what you do. Therefore, what you do is the only people who get, someone said it, unconditional love are like babies, because they don't do anything really. I mean, they actually do. Babies actually heighten for some people some of the good chemicals in our bodies, and that actually makes us love babies and want to take care of babies. I don't know how to love someone without inputting what they do specifically for me in the calculation of loving them. Like, I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Someone, no. I am not what I do. I am just here. By being here, you are doing something here. And you can love who you are by merely existing, but no one else is obligated to loving you. And it's not just your job. When I say what you do, I'm not talking about your job. People have family they hate. How you act in community with me will dictate how I care for you and how I love you. It absolutely will. I'm gonna drop the link. If you disagree, I'll drop the link and you can come up. Because I think who you are, how I know who you are is based on what you do. Like, there is absolutely no way for me to know who you are to love you without what you do. There's absolutely no way for me to do that. I can't read into your soul. I can't see who you are. The only way I can perceive you is by what you do, how you show up. Like a legit, there's no way for me to know your inner works. Love for him is him resting in Adidas slides and socks while women bring him mango juice. Period. I mean, I'm gonna drop the link. Here it is for people who, because I see a lot of discontentment about this. Here, explain to me the link. Let me explain what this link is. The link is for anyone who believes you can love someone without what they do. You can detach your love for someone without what they do. Children are not a part of this.
Once again, I've said this before. People are more concerned about falling in love with a performance and a role than falling in love with the whole person. That's the reason why y'all out here getting divorced. Because you didn't fall in love with that whole person. You fell in love with what they could do for you. And that is patriarchy. That's capitalism. I love you as far as I can enslave you.
So you're saying there's not a lot of love in the Black community?
I'm saying there's not a lot of love in the West.
And how would you describe love?
Love is a consistent commitment to growth, whether or not that growth involves you or not. Can
Well,
enslave you.
So you're saying there's not a lot of love in the Black community?
I'm saying there's not a lot of love in the West.
And how would you describe love?
Love is a consistent commitment to growth, whether or not.
Love is a consistent commitment to growth, whether or not you are in that growth. I mean, I can commit to growth. I can commit to growth without love. Like I can be obligated to something. I can like engage even in my career to grow without loving it. That consistent commitment to growth isn't love. I don't think. I reject I reject his definition of love. I reject his definition of love.
That growth involves you or not. Can I grow with you even if you're growing away from me? Right? There is a I think it was a
Kosha, you're here to tell me how you can love someone without caring about how they act.
I actually think these men don't love women for what they do. They don't love their mothers for what they do.
No. I wanted to ask if the question is, can you love someone without caring about their action, children not included?
Absolutely.
How do you love someone without their action?
Women do many things for these men that are loving, and they don't, well, they don't love them for their actions, I guess. They don't love them.
I don't understand.
Women will provide homes for them, including
What is
their mother,
love?
and evidently, love is not loving people for their actions because
No, no,
they
no, no,
should.
no. What do you think is love?
I think love is a strong bond to another person, based on symbiotic and reciprocity.
Well, you
And
can't say it feels weird to say reciprocity after you say women love men who don't do anything for
no,
them.
I say men don't love women who absolutely do something for them.
Yeah, but the question was, can you love someone without care of their action?
Yeah, they
What is
love
that?
other men who don't do nothing for them. They love other men who don't do anything for them. Absolutely.
All right. I understand the impulse and I know where you're going, I think, but I wanted to answer a specific question about what you think love is, specifically. Like,
I think love is dependent upon actions, but I don't think they do.
all right, but so you think love requires action.
Yeah,
All right, so we agree then.
but they don't.
All right. um, all right. Thank you, Kosha.
All right, thank you.
Production inquiry, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
There's like a little bit of a delay.
All right.
Is it better now?
Yes. What is love first, and then what is love? Hello.
I think love is a persistent care and admiration for someone as they exist.
A persistent care and admiration. How would you admire someone without no action on their part?
It's how they make you feel, and that can
Wait,
require action, but it doesn't always have to.
I don't understand that. Can you explain? Sorry.
I think that's the only way I can explain it. And everyone might not agree.
No, no, no. I'm trying to use your definition of love. And I feel like when I say action, I feel like it is getting lost that pretty much anything you do is an action.
Does that include just existing? That's why I said I just exist.
But if you see just like no one, I want to say no one just exists.
The prior caller was right, that there are women, and I've done this and I know these women that love men who just exist.
I don't think that's love, but you would have to give me an example and define love in a way that would include what those women do.
as far as doing things for those men or people and caring for them?
Yeah, you can care for people you don't love. There are a lot of people who want to control other people. There are a lot of people who I don't want to get into my definition of love because it doesn't matter right now. But do you admire the people who you are housing?
Just because there are a lot of people who do that doesn't mean that the ones who do it because they love someone don't love that person.
Yeah, but you have to define love in a way that makes it applicable. Themis, are you saying the women don't love the men's? Actually, I do. I don't believe. I don't think this is a hot take. I said it before. I don't think it is love animating a lot of these action. I think fear specifically of loneliness, is pushing a lot of the actions. Like when people are like, "Oh, I loved him so much, I moved him in." No, you felt alone. You probably aren't really in love with someone who is doing a lot of the things that that person is doing to you. But the fear of loneliness and heightened abandonment issues drive us to do all kinds of things. But I don't think it is always love. I don't want to say absolute, but I want to hear a definition of love. Um, I want to hear a definition of love that would, because you use the word admiration in your definition of love, and it's real hard to accept admiration of someone that is absolutely useless in your life.
Can I drop down and come back up? The echo on my end is crazy. The delay is like
Yeah, no,
3
you're
whole
fine.
seconds, and I've been talking.
Yeah, you're
I'm
fine.
gonna drop down and get on my different Wi-Fi and come up.
All right, cool.
Whether it be Buddhist, Zen Buddhism, I'm not sure. If you truly love the flower when you see it on your journey of walking, do you pick it or do you leave it to continue to grow? If you pick the flower, you are removing it from its life force and eventually it will die. But you will have it with you as you continue along your way.
All right. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, the delay is gone.
All right.
Go ahead. You asked me about admiration.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the delay
Can you
still there.
define
I'm
love
gonna still talk.
again?
Ugh.
Can you define love again?
It's what I said before. It's admiration and care and adoring someone for just existing. You said you didn't want to include children. I don't think psychologically that's accurate.
What? Accurate what? I'm talking about a very specific kind of love. And let me be clear, it's the intimate sexual love that one's supposed to feel for another person. It's not this platonic love or the love for the world. We're in the Bible. I think it's in one of the Bible where love must be accompanied by action. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about loving someone. And I want you to define people, the love for another person in relationships.
Shouldn't that love include multiple facets, though? Shouldn't it include platonic? Shouldn't it
No,
include?
Eros. That's the only one I'm talking about. Eros. Sorry, I should have included erotic love.
No,
Eros.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not. The lust that I've had for me has been for men primarily that I've loved. I don't just walk around erotic. That's just my story.
Wait, no. Wait, I don't think we are talking about the same thing. I'm saying this kind of love requires action. Eros love, which is complex, requires the other person to at least move or breathe.
I just disagree, and maybe you and I have a different.
No, but if I drop the link for you to come up, I'm trying to talk about our disagreement. Are you saying you don't know you don't know how to define love, which is fine?
I twice told you like how I define it, and it didn't seem to sit with
No,
you.
wait, you said twice. Can you do it a third time? And I'll write it down this time so I don't ask again. Please.
It's a persistent admiration and care for someone, and it can be just as they exist.
And care for someone. All right. What is admiration?
Maybe I'm mixing admiration and adoration. So yeah, I would use adoration.
What is adoration? Without using the word love, how would you? Because adoration is respect in my mind.
To find intrinsic value in someone, to enjoy their presence without a requirement.
All right. So you are defining adoration the way that personally, not like an actual definition.
Yeah, I didn't Google it. I'm trying to keep it 100. I didn't just Google it.
No. Even if you did, that's fine. I just wanted to know if this is your like my definition wouldn't work because you're doing a personalized definition. Right? Hello?
Yeah, because you asked personally about how I define love. Yeah.
All right. So you were talking, so you were saying you can be in community with someone and love them and have a persistent adoration and care for this person just by them existing. So they can be in your vicinity and you can enjoy them without them doing anything.
Yes.
All right. Plugged up to a life support. You just walked in. Can you love someone that you just walked into and they're plugged up to life support and they will never get off?
Someone I don't know?
Eros love, yeah.
No, not someone I don't know. Like a stranger?
Why?
I don't know that person.
How would you get to know them?
At the point in which they're dying, I wouldn't.
All right, so you have to get to know someone before you can love them.
Sure.
All right. In the getting to know them, isn't that the action that initiate love?
Yes.
So you can't love someone without action.
It doesn't mean they're doing something for me. Like me sitting next to someone having a conversation is a dual exchange. It's
Yes,
not that
they're
person
doing
doing
something.
something for me.
Yes, they are. They're keeping your company and you're keeping theirs. That even at the most basic level.
So is that the context we're talking about when we're talking about going back to that guy who I think is word salad?
Yeah,
And
no, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think I think when in one conversation, we'll be saying, oh, people aren't what they do. And by that, we mean they aren't the work that they do. And I agree, people aren't the work that they do, but the work you do is important. But when you say you are not what you do, you need to love someone regardless of what they do. That seems like meaningless. It's a word salad, useless add on to an already useless conversation. Your actions matter, and the way you show up and the way you act indicates how people will receive you and show you love.
But would you act that way and show up that way, whether you had Eros love towards this person or not? I'm not saying that Eros love doesn't elicit a different experience. I'm saying when you show up with anybody, you show up.
No. How you show up matters. Your actions matter.
It
And if
does.
the yeah. Oh,
I
go
agree.
ahead.
But you don't think that the eros love is different? Like when you meet someone for the first time that you might eventually fall in love with, they still showed up and existed outside of the context of eros.
Yes, and to develop love, we now need actions, and your actions will indicate how much investment emotionally I give to you and whether love will come subsequent to that.
So are those actions allowed to just be existing? And I'm somewhat devil's advocating here because I mean, I feel like the context of this discussion with that dusty man was it almost
Relationship.
implied that.
No, yeah, well, the implication is that you should love someone for who they are on the inside or who they are without their action, and that doesn't make any sense with the action that indicate what you are. Like you could be a great person, a good God-fearing man, but if you're stabbing people, unaliving people, you're a killer. Like, and nobody gonna look deep in your soul. Only have your actions to go by. We legit, as human beings, we only have actions to go off of to make judgments.
So can that action be what we said, which is two people sitting together, keeping each other company mutually?
Those are actions. Sitting together is an action.
Even though that action is not going to pay any bills.
This is not in the context of just bill paying.
Okay, if it's not in the context of bill paying, then fine. I felt like Hotepia was really trying to get at me existing is enough in a marriage. I don't agree with that, but I do believe you can love somebody without it being based on certain exchanges.
Yeah, I don't. I exchange is a different word from action, and I did a video on limerence, and I talked about the limerence because I think there are people like these women who take care of these men love these men. You're gonna have to prove that to me after I
How?
understand what limerence is. Not you. You going? I will not accept love as the no. All right, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Thema.
Bye. Now, what was he saying?
I think it was a whether it be Buddhist, Zen Buddhism, I'm not sure. If you truly love the flower when you see it on your journey of walking, do you pick it or do you leave it to continue to grow? If you pick the flower, you are removing it from its life force and eventually it will die. But you will have it with you as you continue along your way. But if you leave the flower to grow, you allow the flower to be in the environment where it needs itself the most, but you're going to have to depart from it. So the person who leaves the flower or the person who picks the flower, which person actually loves that flower more?
That's a dumb question, and I do know where they get it from. And I understand the concept of letting things go, but grow. But the whole point is if you don't know how to quote unquote love something, right? So if you see the flowers and you love the flower and you pick the flower, but you did not know anything about sort of flower, you think if you pick the flower and put it in a water, then it can grow, right? If you didn't know that, when you pick the flower, it doesn't actually mean you love the flower less than the person who leaves the flower so it can grow. Like you will cause damage to the flower will ultimately die, right, when you pick it, but that you pick the flower doesn't actually de facto means you love the flower less than someone, or you love it differently actually than someone who didn't pick the flower. One might just have more knowledge about how flowers grow. than the other. By the way, that's nitpicky and annoying because you get the moral of the story if you're reading Buddhist teaching, I guess. But like, my lawyer brain doesn't go off. There's just like, yeah, you whether or not you should know is the issue.
The person that leaves the flower.
Which means that a number of us show our love by picking the flower. We want you to be our possession.
Mm. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I don't want you to have to love me. I want you to choose to love me. And a number of people don't have that security within themselves. A number of people don't have that security in their relationships.
I feel like people don't have that security within like their households, within their finances. Like we're talking about the Black community is not doing financially well across the board in the West or, as a whole. And so we're at this standpoint where we actually really do need each other from a financial standpoint.
Yes.
And so I feel like it could feel like, asking for a lot when people are in fight or flight.
I agree, right? But once again, why is it that the only conversation that we're having in relationships as it relates to Black folks is who's going to pay all the bills? Why are we not talking about how we're going to utilize a 2-income household in order to facilitate investments? Why are we not talking?
How are you going to facilitate investment when these bills can't be? You know what? I think I'm done. I mean, if I can play the rest of it, he's making me itch. He's making me itch.
About how it is to manage credit or leverage credit in order to create passive income. Why are we not talking about how it is that we can teach our children what it is that we've learned from moving into these spaces? One of the largest wealth hacks is getting married.
That's fine. Who gonna pay these bills though? Who gonna pay these bills? Because if there's an argument about bills and you're saying men should vest and women should, like, I do agree that we need to get to over the hump of the income and the bills so that we can get to the rest of the stuff. But like, before we get to the rest of the stuff, these things need to happen. And if these men aren't working, I don't.
Because the United States of America gives benefits based upon you being married. And that's the reason why there are so many penalties when you get divorced. They want to incentivize what it is that they believe to be a healthy relationship. But once again, because there is no love, there is only possession. We only care about the amount of possessions that we have. What possessions can you provide to me? Can you act as my possession? Right? We're having the wrong conversations.
If you want to see the rest of this episode, you can subscribe to IG, TikTok, or Facebook because the 20-minute episode gets deeper. So thank you so much for.
By the way, this is a 20-minute interview thing, so apparently this is it. Sometimes you may sit so still, I wonder if the video is lagging. No, it's just like, I don't want to engage any further. And I also don't want to engage with like something else. If you believe you can love someone in in a very specific way without any kind of action, good on you. I think sometimes that I speak, I think sometimes when I speak, it comes off as it's like the fact, and that's probably training. I do actually mean my opinion, right? And so whenever I drop the link, and you think I'm wrong, please feel free to come tell me how. I will have questions. If you have questions, let me know in advance so we can go back and forth on these questions. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know that. Deep as a kiddie pool, and nothing deep about that. I saw some other super chats, and so I'll read them in the after show. In the after show. Love for him is him resting in. Oh, I read that. Thank you. DJ, hey DJ, how are you? How art thou? I think it's only possible to love someone without relying on their action if you lack a standard for what makes someone deserving of your love. But even this definition, because like I don't disagree necessarily, but it means that you don't know. This is interesting because what I'm about to say is that you don't know how to love, right? But that would be me superimposing my idea of love onto you. And until we come up with like a standard definition of love, right? And if we're talking about eros love, and the love between people, it is like this feeling of intimacy that we hope leads to action. And that's why I did the coma thing. Because it would be wild to have. I mean, look, apparently people have attraction to objects, but those attraction isn't love. And so what is love fundamentally? And can it exist without a moving target? Can it exist without can it develop really without action? And I think I'm going to limit the broad statement that I made to me. It is impossible for me to love you absent your actions. What you are, how you show up, what you do is required for me to love you. Like I can, like the idea of saying I love you to anyone but my child without actions involved is absolutely wild. So I think if you can love someone who just merely exists, that's, I don't know if that's beautiful. Actually, I won't say that's beautiful. Good on you. So I appreciate this, DJ. People have so many definitions. It's hard to nail. Yeah. And I think I do actually agree with this, Alicia. That's why I started asking to define. But I also think one of the things that I worry about is that when we when we engage in behaviors that are detrimental to ourselves in service of other people, if I frame it as love from me, I know that I will never want to stop it. And so fully fleshing out what love is and what it requires helps me to not abandon myself, and use up that which I have for those who are not deserving of it. Because the last thing you should continue to do is give people more of what they don't appreciate. That's a lesson I've learned as a child that I do plan on taking with me to the grave. I refuse to continue to give you more of what you don't appreciate. If it's not appreciated, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. That's simple. If you don't appreciate it, you can love someone for their, I think you mean for, I don't know what that word is. I won't put it on the screen. I think you meant potential. I think you say, I don't think that's love. If you're out here loving people for their potential, girl, period. Well, that is deep faith. That is religious. That is more than love. That is deeper than that is faith. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Please don't be mad at me. Please don't be. If you love someone for their potential, girl, period. That sounds like faith to me. That sounds like hope. That sounds like dreaming. That sounds like limerence, but that don't sound like that ain't right. That ain't right. Potential means you ain't doing nothing. Exactly. Exactly. Anywho, I do actually have to go back to work. I thank you all so much. I feel so bad because I think that person was just speaking generally about potential. I am so sorry. I think you were just. You have faith in that person. You don't love them. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much. I have a lot that we're going to discuss on Friday, so look out for that. I said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm going to start members living, making the live stream I do throughout the week members only. I won't do it now. When I officially move, I will start doing that. But just know that when the background changes and I'm no longer in my loft, that when I go live and it's not Friday, those live stream will be members only. I'm giving you all forewarning so you guys can be here and watch it, but it's going to be members only. All right. I appreciate you all. I'm actually not going to work. Actually finished. I'm going to watch Nocturnal because the new season came out yesterday and I forgot to watch it. So go forth and watch Nocturnal. I'm going to go forth and watch Nocturnal. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye. I'm also going to cut this. It's annoying me. It grew way longer than I expected. It's the only nail that I have, but it's growing, and I thought it would rip by now and fall off, but it's going strong. It's going strong, and I'm going to cut it. Ain't nobody got time. Bye.